I went live from the parking garage of my condo building. In front of over 300 viewers, I was backing into my spot. Then I floored it. Crunch. My rear bumper slammed into the side of the Mercedes parked next to me. The chat feed exploded. HOLY shit, he actually hit ID. Is a Mercedes owner watching? My soul hurts for you, man. Is building management brain dead? Who the hell designed these spots? I grinned at the camera. I shifted into drive, pulled forward, and then slammed it back into reverse. Crunch. Again. 1. It didn't take long for other residents to start gathering. I yelled at my phone's camera. You see this? Hey, management, I'm paying you guys a fortune in HOA fees, and this is the kind of parking spot you give me. You call this a parking space. It's blocking half the damn fire lane. My wife scraped the hell out of our car here last week. Did you do anything about it? No. The head of security, Rick Peterson, came running over with a couple of his guys.
Hayes, what the hell are you doing? Are you insane? Stop. That's Mr. Vance's car.
The Mr. Vance he was talking about was Julian Vance, a VP at Vance Development Group, the company that built this place. I rolled down my window, putting on an innocent face. Me insane? You're the ones who are insane. You paint a spot like this, charge money for it, and then act surprised when someone hits the car next to them? You practically wanted me to hit it. More residents were showing up, murmuring among themselves. Rick pulled out his radio, his voice cracking with rage.
Ethan Hayes is destroying Mr. Vance's car. Call the police. Call them now.
I laughed and held up my phone, panning the camera across the furious security guards and the gawking crowd. Go on, call them. It'll be great to have the cops here. Let the police see for themselves what a criminal operation you're running here. 2. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. I killed the engine, pulled the key, and got out of the car, walking toward the flashing red and blue lights. I shouted into my phone one last time for the live stream. Everyone watching, you're my witnesses. It's May 23rd, 2025. Right now, it is 7:35 p.m. I'm at the garage entrance of the Grand Willow Estates. My name is Ethan Hayes. I started this stream at 7:20 p.m. to protest this management. I hit that car on purpose. I'm raising hell with the property management on purpose. 3. In my first life, I was the perfect scapegoat for the greed of the property management and the developers. They had embezzled millions from the community's reserve fund, cutting corners on maintenance, which led to an elevator cable snapping, killing 2 people. But they expertly forged a mountain of evidence that pointed to me, the guy running for the HOA board who was leading the charge to hold them accountable. They used my involvement in community affairs to fabricate a story that I had snapped after my complaints were ignored, taking matters into my own hands. I screamed my innocence, but no one listened. I was sentenced to 8 years in prison. My wife, Chloe, exhausted herself trying to find the truth to clear my name. My parents endured endless insults from our neighbors. On their way to visit me in prison one day, they were killed in a horrific accident, hit by a drunk driver in a semi-truck. And me? I died in a so-called accident in the prison workshop not long after. When I opened my eyes again, I was back. 10 minutes before Warren Hale, the property manager, was set to launch his smear campaign against me. Right at the exact moment the elevator was crashing to the ground, since they were so good at faking evidence of me being at the crime scene. Then I would create my own evidence, an ironclad, live-streamed, publicly witnessed alibi that proved I was somewhere else entirely. 4. The comments on my phone's live stream were scrolling by at lightning speed. This guy has guts. Hell, yeah. Stick it to them. HOAs are the absolute worst. The Mercedes owner is crying in a corner somewhere. Cops are here. 2 police officers approached, their brows furrowed as they surveyed the scene. Rick Peterson rushed to tattle.
Officer, this man intentionally damaged private property, and he's disturbing the peace.
I immediately held up my hands, my voice loud and clear. Officer, I admit it. I hit the car. It's all on me. I'll pay for the damages, whatever it costs. But the root of this whole problem today is the property management. I pointed to the ridiculously narrow parking spot that encroached on the fire lane. Is this spot even legal? Can you just paint a parking space in a fire lane? They take our money and do nothing. And when something like this happens, who's responsible?
Ethan, are you crazy? What are you doing?
My wife, Chloe, had just gotten home from work. She ran toward me, her face pale with shock. Seeing the panic in her eyes felt like a fist closing around my heart. In my first life, she fought for me through all the despair and accusations until the very end. This time, I had to be strong. For both of us. I pushed her hand away, feigning rage. Go home. What home? I paid for this spot, and I'm going to get what I paid for. Chloe, stay out of this. If management doesn't give me an answer today, I'm not going anywhere. One of the officers tried to mediate.
Sir, the fact is you damaged a vehicle. Let's calm down and handle the compensation issue first. You can file a formal complaint about the parking space later.
Later, I cut him off, pacing like a caged animal. If filing a complaint worked, would this spot still be here? Will my wife's car have been scraped up? Officer, this needs to be settled. Right here, right now. Otherwise, I'm staying live. I'll let the whole city see how crooked the management at the Grand Willow Estates really is. Chloe frantically tried to pull me back.
Ethan, I'm begging you. Please stop. We can't win against these people.
Tears streamed down her face, and I almost gave in. I glanced at my phone. The time was 7:40 p.m. The elevator had crashed 20 minutes ago. It was almost time. 5. I gritted my teeth and shoved Chloe's hand away again, roaring, "Where's your manager? Get Warren Hale down here. This isn't over until I say it is." My voice echoed through the concrete garage, bordering on manic. The police had no choice but to radio for the property manager, Warren Hale, to come to the scene. Some of the residents looked on with sympathy. Others just shook their heads. More than a few had their phones out, recording everything. I leaned against the cold metal of my car door and closed my eyes, tuning out the noise. At this exact moment in my first life, Hale and Julian Vance's cronies were shredding financial records and doctoring security footage to pin the elevator disaster on me. All the evidence pointed to me tampering with the elevator machinery. But now, my alibi was the hundreds of people watching my stream, the police, the security guards, and over 100 residents. I thought back to the interrogation in my first life when the detectives asked me, "Where were you at the time of the incident?" My answer then was a weak, pathetic, "I was at home. Alone." It makes me want to laugh just thinking about it. This time, my answer would be, "I was in the parking garage in a standoff with the police, property management, and 100 of my neighbors." The whole thing was live-streamed. 6. They took me to a small conference room next to the management office to serve as a makeshift mediation room. Warren Hale finally showed up. He was short, overweight, and greasy, with a comb-over that did little to hide his bald spot. He walked in wearing a fake smile. Behind him were 2 of his staff, one holding a file folder like he was about to give a presentation.
"Mr. Hayes, a misunderstanding. It's all just a misunderstanding,"
Hale said, extending a clammy hand. I slapped it away. "Cut the crap, Hale. A misunderstanding. You paint a parking spot in a fire lane, make it too narrow to use, and my wife damages our car. That's a misunderstanding. You didn't seem to think it was a misunderstanding when you cashed our HOA check." The plastic smile on Hale's face froze. A flicker of malice crossed his eyes before he suppressed it.
"Mr. Hayes, no need to be so hostile. We can discuss rectifying the parking situation. As for Mr. Vance's car, the damages, we will do our best to help you coordinate a compensation plan."
He stressed the word, "help you," making it clear he considered this my mess. The older of the 2 officers frowned.
Mr. Hale, let's be clear on 2 things. First, Mr. Hayes has admitted to hitting the car. The liability and compensation can be handled between the parties or through legal channels. Second, the issue with the parking space itself is a matter for property management and the developer. We recommend the residents file a complaint through the proper channels. For now, let's focus on the first issue.
"The officer is absolutely right."
Hale immediately jumped on it, adopting a patronizing tone.
"Ethan, you see, the officer has spoken. Damaging someone else's property is a fact. Let's get the compensation settled first. Then, for the parking spot, I, Warren Hale, give you my word we'll find a satisfactory solution." Okay, look, your wife is waiting outside. She's so upset.
He was using Chloe against me again, just like he did last time. I shot to my feet, the chair screeching back with a loud bang. I pointed a finger right in Hale's face. Warren, don't you feed me that garbage. A satisfactory solution? Who do you think you're kidding? How long has that spot been there? How many complaints have been filed? Have you done a single thing? If I hadn't made a scene like this today, would you even be pretending to care? I'm telling you, this isn't over until you spit back every last cent of the dirty money this crooked management company has stolen from us. My voice was high and shrill. I was playing the part of a man completely unhinged. The officer's expression hardened.
Mr. Hayes, you need to calm down. If you continue like this, we'll have to take you downtown.
Fine, take me. I was even more agitated now, jutting my chin out defiantly. Lock me up. Let Warren Hale and his whole corrupt team keep getting away with murder. Officers, if you don't stand for justice here, you're just enabling them. Hale's face was twisted with rage.
You're slandering me. You're a lunatic. A complete lunatic.
A lunatic? If I am, it's because parasites like you drove me to it. I grabbed a disposable paper cup from the table and hurled it to the floor. Water splashed everywhere. Hale, you son of a bitch. You and your management company are nothing but leeches sucking the life out of the residents. You just wait. You'll get what's coming to you. Seven, hearing the commotion, Chloe couldn't stay outside any longer. She burst into the room. Seeing me in my feigned state of madness, she let out a sob and threw her arms around my waist, holding on for dear life.
Ethan, I'm begging you. Please stop talking. Stop fighting. We'll pay the money. Let's just go home. I'm scared. I'm so scared.
I stroked her hair, then suddenly changed my tone. Okay, I'll listen to you. My gaze went vacant as I looked past Hale and the police. Did anyone die? The abrupt question stunned everyone into silence. The officer frowned.
What? What did you say?
Hale's face twitched. His eyes darted around as he tried to sound forceful.
Ethan, what are you talking about? Are you trying to start rumors in front of the police? I think you really have lost your mind.
He turned to the officer.
Officer, you see, this man's mental state is clearly unstable. I recommend he be taken for psychiatric evaluation.
Chloe was terrified by my words, her face ashen.
Honey, what's wrong? What are you saying? Don't scare me like this.
The officer's face was grim.
Mr. Hayes, watch what you say. What did you mean by that?
I looked up at him, my eyes empty and tired, as if the hysterical man from moments ago was a different person. Nothing. I'm just tired. Just then, the door to the conference room was thrown open with a bang. A young security guard rushed in, his face a mask of terror. He was so out of breath he could barely speak, his voice trembling uncontrollably.
Mr. H. Hale, it's terrible. As something happened. The elevator in Building 3 fell from the 15th floor.
What?
Hale shrieked, his large body swaying on his feet.
The elevator fell?
The police officer shot up from his chair, his expression changing instantly. The residents crowded outside the door heard it too, and a wave of panic and horrified chatter swept through the garage.
The number 3 elevator in Building 3. There were people inside.
The young guard wailed.
We don't know how many yet. We've already called 911.
Hale looked like he was about to collapse. He sank into a chair, his lips trembling.
It's over. It's all over.
Then, as if struck by lightning, his head snapped up and he stared at me with a look of pure, venomous horror.
It was you. Ethan, it had to be you. You were angry about the parking spot, and this was your revenge. Revenge against us. Against everyone.
He scrambled over to the police officer, pointing a shaking finger at me.
Officer, it was him. He's the killer. Just now, out of nowhere, he asked if anyone died. He already knew. That's a confession. Check the security footage. Check it now. I bet you'll see him. He's on the HOA board. He knows where the elevator machine room is. He had the motive. This whole scene in the garage was just a distraction to create an alibi.
The officer's gaze instantly became as sharp as a razor, locking onto me. Chloe gasped, her body trembling. She looked from Hale to me in disbelief, tears streaming down her face.
No, that's impossible. Ethan would never.
8 Warren Hale fumbled with his phone, logging into the building's security feed. His fingers shook as he pulled up the playback and shoved the screen in the officer's face.
Officer, look. This is the camera near the elevator machine room, right when the elevator fell. Look at this figure. Doesn't that look like him?
The video was grainy, but it clearly showed a man in a dark jacket, with a build very similar to mine, slipping into the elevator machine room about 5 minutes before the crash, disappearing into a blind spot. Even more damning, the figure seemed to glance up at the camera, and in the dim, flickering light, the profile was an 80–90% match for me.
And this?
Hale grabbed the file folder from his assistant.
This is an anonymous tip we received at the management office this afternoon. It names Ethan Hayes, says he's been making public threats because of the parking dispute, saying he'd make management pay and blow up the damn elevators. The letter also says he's been seen snooping around the machine room lately.
He held up the printed-out letter, his voice high with excitement.
Motive, opportunity, witnesses, and physical evidence. Officer, it's him. Arrest him. He's the monster who caused this tragedy. This is domestic terrorism.
It was a mountain of evidence. All the pieces fit together perfectly. Anger over a parking dispute leads to threats of revenge. He sneaks into the machine room to sabotage the elevator. Then he uses a live-streamed confrontation in the garage to draw attention and create a perfect alibi with the police present. The logic was flawless. The motive, the timing, the video, the letter, it all pointed to one conclusion. Ethan Hayes, was a cold-blooded killer who had retaliated against society. The officer's expression changed completely. His hand moved to the handcuffs on his belt.
Ethan Hayes.
The officer said, his voice low and serious.
You need to come with us for questioning. Now.
Chloe clung to my arm.
No, it wasn't him. Honey, say something. Tell them.
My parents must have gotten a call, because they were suddenly there, pushing through the crowd at the door. My dad's face was ashen, his lips trembling too much to speak. My mom saw the scene and just fainted, caught by a neighbor before she hit the ground.
Mom.
Chloe screamed. The room descended into chaos. I looked at Warren Hale's face, twisted in a triumphant sneer. I looked at the faked security footage and the fabricated letter in his hand. I looked at the cold steel of the handcuffs on the officer's belt. I looked at my unconscious mother, my sobbing wife, my terrified father. The same feeling of absolute despair that had crushed me in a courtroom in my first life washed over me like an icy tide. But this time was different. I looked the officer straight in the eye, my voice calm. Officer, can you confirm the exact time the elevator fell? The cop was taken aback, clearly not expecting that question. Hale immediately shrieked.
It was 7:20 p.m. The last signal from the elevator's camera was at 7:20.
He held up his phone again.
See, and here he is, sneaking out of the machine room at 7:21. He did it. He planned the whole thing.
He spat, spittle flying from his mouth.
Officer, think about it. Why did he ask out of the blue? Did anyone die? What is that if not a guilty conscience? It's a confession. He's the killer.
An elevator crash. People dead or injured. This was no longer a property dispute. This was a major catastrophe, a potential mass murder. Every eye in the room was on me. The air was thick with a pressure heavy enough to break a man. Chloe's eyes were filled with absolute terror and a sliver of disbelief. Good, I said with a nod. That's perfect. I took a deep breath. Since the timeline is so specific. I began, my voice rising with every word. Then I demand that you, officer, immediately pull all security footage from this parking garage. Every camera angle, from 7:20 p.m. until this very second. And while you're at it, go ask every single security guard, every resident standing out there. Hell, ask a passing dog. Ask them if from 7:20 p.m. until now, I, Ethan Hayes, have taken a single step outside of this garage. Ask them if I haven't been right here the entire time, arguing with you, with management, with the police. My eyes bored into Warren Hale. Mr. Hale, you have your anonymous tip, right? You have your security footage of me? Then you tell me, how does a man who is backing his car into a parking spot at 7:20 p.m., a man who has been right under your nose, yelling, screaming, throwing cups, and being watched by every single one of you, how did he simultaneously teleport across the complex to sabotage a goddamn elevator? The blood drained from Warren Hale's face. His large body wobbled, his lips moved, but no sound came out. The only sound in the room was my own ragged breathing. The older officer's eyes narrowed. The critical flaw in Hale's story hit him like a punch. He immediately keyed the radio on his shoulder, speaking quickly and urgently.
Dispatch. This is Detective Miller at the Grand Willow Estates garage. I need you to pull and secure all video feeds from this conference room and the surrounding area from 1710 hours to the present. Immediately. Now. Also, seal off the HOA office. Preserve the scene. Get the forensics team down here. And have homicide take over the elevator crash site. This is not a simple accident.
After giving the orders, his sharp gaze shifted between me and the ashen-faced Warren Hale. Chloe staggered forward.
Officer, it's true. I can testify. My husband has been in here the entire time, since they brought him in. He was just in here yelling at them. He never left. I was watching the whole time, and all the neighbors outside, they can testify too,
She said, pointing to the massive crowd of residents.
Yeah. I can vouch for him. Ethan's been in there arguing with management and the cops this whole time. That's right. We were all watching. He never even came out the door. Hale, you lying piece of shit. You're trying to frame him. Ethan was right here in front of us when the elevator fell.
A wave of outrage erupted from the crowd. Dozens of voices were now shouting in my defense. The anger of the mob turned instantly, like a tidal wave, toward the man who had tried to frame me. Warren Hale was in a full-blown panic, sweat beading on his forehead and rolling down his face. His voice was weak and shaky.
No, that's impossible. The video. The camera definitely caught him. In the machine room, it was him.
Caught who?
Detective Miller took a step toward Hale, his voice dropping to an icy calm.
Mr. Hale, please clarify for me. Who, exactly, did the camera in the machine room record?
His eyes were like daggers.
In this letter you have, who wrote it? Where is the original? This concerns a major public safety disaster and potentially a criminal conspiracy to frame an innocent man. I suggest you answer truthfully.
Aye, aye.
Hale was crushed by the detective's intensity, backing away, stammering.
The camera, I don't know. The letter, it was anonymous. Someone stuffed it in the management mailbox.
His eyes darted away.
A guard gave it to you? Which guard?
The detective pressed, his gaze sweeping over Rick Peterson and the other security staff. Rick's face went pale. He avoided the detective's eyes. The other guards looked at each other, none daring to speak. Just then, the police radio crackled to life. Reporting to Detective Miller. We've reviewed the conference room footage. Confirmed, the subject, Ethan Hayes, entered the parking garage at 19:20 hours and has not left the area as of the current time, 20:07 hours. The clear, official voice came through the speaker for everyone to hear. The crowd erupted.
You hear that? The cops confirmed it. Ethan's been here the whole time. Hale! You bastard! You tried to frame him. Management kills people and then tries to blame a resident. You have no conscience. Lock him up. Find out who's really behind this.
Warren Hale looked like he'd been struck by lightning. His legs gave out, and he crumpled to the floor, his face devoid of color, shaking like a leaf. Detective Miller's eyes were like ice.
Warren Hale, Rick Peterson, you're both coming with us to the station for questioning. Take them away.
2 officers moved in. The cold click of handcuffs echoed in the room as they were fastened around Hale's and Peterson's trembling wrists.
No, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I'm being framed.
Hale began to scream and struggle like a pig being led to slaughter.
Detective, let me explain. It was all Hale's idea.
Peterson started to panic, trying to throw his boss under the bus.
You can tell us all about it downtown.
Miller said sharply, waving them away. Watching the once arrogant Warren Hale being dragged away like a sack of garbage, the crowd of residents erupted in cheers.
Honey, honey.
Chloe whispered, clinging to my arm as fresh tears streamed down her face.
You scared me to death. I was so scared.
I gently patted her back. The tension that had kept me rigid finally began to fade, replaced by a wave of profound exhaustion. But deep inside, the fire of vengeance wasn't out. Today's small victory had only made it burn hotter. Detective Miller walked over to me. His expression was a complex mix of scrutiny and respect, but mostly it was all business.
Mr. Hayes, your act of intentionally damaging private property will still need to be addressed according to the law. However, given the severity of the elevator incident and the crucial information you provided, we will need your full cooperation with the investigation. Please come with us to the station to give a detailed statement. We need to know everything you mentioned about the reserve fund, the illegal parking spot, and...
He paused, his voice dropping lower.
You seemed to know something was going to happen tonight, didn't you?
Chloe stiffened beside me, looking up at me with confusion and worry in her eyes. I met Detective Miller's sharp gaze. I knew the real storm was just beginning. The elevator tragedy was just the tip of the iceberg. Warren Hale and Rick Peterson were just pawns. The real mastermind who sent me to prison and got my parents killed in my first life, Julian Vance of Vance Development, and the vast network of corruption behind him, was still hiding in the shadows, untouched. Cooperating with the investigation is my duty, detective, especially when it comes to where that reserve fund went and who signed off on that parking spot. I have a feeling Julian Vance, the VP of Vance Development, knows more about that than anyone. His precious Mercedes is scraped to hell. I think it's about time he made an appearance, don't you? The chaos of the parking garage faded behind us as the police cruiser, its lights painting the night in strobing red and blue, sped toward the downtown precinct. Chloe leaned against me, still trembling slightly. Her hand gripped my arm so tightly I could feel her nails digging into my skin.
Ethan.
She said, her voice hoarse.
What? What just happened? The elevator. How could it just fall? And Warren Hale. How could he accuse you like that? You knew, didn't you? You knew something was going to happen.
It's okay, Chloe. Don't be afraid, I said, taking her cold hand in mine. It's over for now. Hale and his cronies are in custody. The elevator crash is on them and the developers, not me. As for how I knew, I paused, staring out the window at the blur of passing streetlights. You'll understand soon. Just trust me. The police station was a hive of activity. The elevator crash, which had resulted in 2 deaths and 2 serious injuries, had become a major incident, drawing resources from across the city. Chloe and I were placed in an interrogation room to wait. The minutes ticked by. The clock on the wall read 10:00 p.m. The door opened. Detective Miller entered, his expression even graver than before. He was followed by 2 men in plain clothes who carried themselves with the quiet confidence of seasoned detectives.
Mr. Hayes, Ms. Hayes, we have the preliminary findings. The main hoist cable on the elevator in Building 3 was intentionally compromised. The anchor bolts were violently damaged, causing the car to lose control and plummet when it reached the 15th floor. This is no longer being treated as an accident. It's a homicide investigation.
Chloe gasped, her hand flying her mouth. My face remained a mask, just as I remembered.
Hale and Peterson are turning on each other in interrogation.
One of the plainclothes detectives said, his voice hard.
Peterson broke first. He confessed that falsifying the maintenance and inspection reports was Hale's order. But Hale was just following orders, too. He claims the real person pulling the strings is the VP of Vance Development, Julian Vance.
Julian Vance,
Chloe exclaimed.
the owner of the Mercedes?
The very same.
Miller confirmed, his gaze intense as he looked at me.
Ethan, what do you know about Julian Vance?
13 just then, the door opened again. 2 officers escorted 2 men into the room. The one in front was a middle-aged man in an expensive, tailored suit, his hair perfectly coiffed. He looked impeccably maintained, but a storm of anger and anxiety brewed just beneath the surface. It was Julian Vance. Trailing him was a stern-faced lawyer clutching a briefcase. Vance's eyes shot daggers at me, filled with undisguised contempt. But when he turned to the police, his expression shifted instantly to one of grave, controlled sorrow.
Detective Miller, gentlemen.
Vance said, his voice a low baritone.
I'm Julian Vance from Vance Development. I've just come from the scene and the hospital. It's a horrific tragedy.
He paused, as if composing himself. Then his eyes landed on me again, the suppressed rage flaring.
I was told the prime suspect in this monstrous act was here. The same man who deliberately vandalized my car and caused that disturbance in the garage, Ethan Hayes.
The sheer force of his presence made Chloe shrink back behind me.
Mr. Vance, please remain calm.
Detective Miller said professionally.
Mr. Hayes is a key witness in this case and is cooperating with our investigation. The preliminary evidence points to Warren Hale and Rick Peterson, and they have implicated you as the one who gave the orders.
Absurd. That's slander.
Vance exploded.
That incompetent fool, Hale. This is his failure of management. He's the one who embezzled the reserve funds and faked the elevator inspections. Now that people are dead, he wants to drag me down with him? The man is insane.
He jabbed a finger in my direction, his eyes burning with malice.
And him. Detective, don't let this man fool you. He's the most suspicious one of all. He held a grudge against me over a parking space, so he intentionally smashed my car and created a public spectacle to manufacture an alibi. He wanted revenge on me. He wanted to kill people and frame me and the management company for it. The man is a psychopath. You should be arresting him, not listening to him.
Vance's performance was masterful. He was the picture of an upstanding business leader being wrongfully accused. His lawyer stepped forward, his tone sharp and professional.
Officers, my client, Mr. Vance, is a renowned entrepreneur in this city with an impeccable public reputation. It is inconceivable that he would commit such a heinous act. We have reason to believe this is a conspiracy between Warren Hale and Ethan Hayes, a disgruntled resident, to frame my client in order to mitigate their own culpability.
The spotlight of suspicion was aimed directly at me once again. Chloe's face was pale. She gripped the back of my shirt. The 2 plainclothes detectives were unreadable, but their gazes held a renewed sense of scrutiny. 14, I met Julian Vance's venomous glare, and, to everyone's surprise, I smiled. Mr. Vance, I said quietly, you claim I held a grudge over a parking spot and wanted revenge? I'll admit, having an illegal spot that damages my wife's car, a spot you refused to fix even after we paid for it, is pretty infuriating. Vance snorted, tilting his chin up in a gesture of pure disdain. But is it infuriating enough to make me sabotage an elevator, killing 2 people and injuring 2 more? Tell me, Mr. Vance, do you think I'm some kind of deranged sociopath? I continued, my voice steady. Or do you just think that your life and your precious Mercedes are so valuable that they're worth multiple human lives in retribution?
You.
Vance was speechless, his face turning a dark shade of red. I didn't give him a chance to recover. I turned to Detective Miller. Detective, besides their confessions, I'm sure you're looking for harder evidence linking Vance to all this, right? Financial trails, communication records, something concrete. But Mr. Vance here is a big shot. I'm sure he's very skilled at hiding money and covering his tracks. It won't be easy to find a smoking gun, will it? Detective Miller's expression didn't change, but he didn't deny it. It was the exact wall they were hitting in the investigation. A flicker of smugness crossed Vance's eyes. His lawyer added,
An accusation without evidence is nothing more than slander.
Don't be so hasty, counselor, I said, turning my gaze back to Vance. Mr. Vance, your impassioned speech about Warren Hale embezzling the reserve fund was a nice touch. Very convincing. However, I drew out the word, locking my eyes on him. Julian Vance, Vice President of Vance Development. You were personally in charge of the Grand Willow Estates project, weren't you? And the property management company, Secure Living Inc., is a subsidiary fully owned by Vance Development. The reserve fund is technically held by the HOA, but any major expenditure requires a signature from you, the developer, doesn't it? Do you really think a small fry property manager like Warren Hale has the guts to embezzle over $2 million from that fund all by himself? And those forged engineering contracts he used to do it. The signature on the approval line, whose handwriting is that, Mr. Vance. The composure on Vance's face finally cracked, his pupils constricted in shock. And another thing. I pressed on, my words coming faster. Phase 2 of the Grand Willow Estates is about to go on sale, but you've been held up for months waiting on the fire inspection certificate, haven't you? So why is it that just recently, the elevator in Building 3, the building that just had the crash, suddenly needed major repairs, even a replacement of core components? The request to draw from the reserve fund for that repair. Did you approve that request, Mr. Vance? Tell me, where did that money really go? Did it perhaps go toward greasing some palms to get that fire inspection to pass? Vance's face had gone from red to a ghastly white. A sheen of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The look in his calculating eyes was no longer rage, but pure, unadulterated panic.
You're lying. Slander. It's all lies.
Vance shot to his feet, the hand he pointed at me visibly trembling.
Defamation. This is blatant defamation. Detective Miller. He's creating chaos. He's obstructing your investigation. Arrest him.
His lawyer, equally flustered, rushed to his side to steady him.
Officer, my client is overwrought. These are baseless accusations, vicious and unfounded. We demand an immediate end to this line of questioning. If not, I will be filing a formal complaint with your superiors on my client's behalf.
The room was in an uproar. I leaned back in my chair, watching the pathetic display of Vance and his lawyer as they flailed like cornered animals. Baseless? Unfounded. I scoffed. Julian, do you really think the dirty dealings between you, Hale, and Peterson were completely seamless? You think no one can trace where that reserve fund went? That the forged contracts and inspection reports you cooked up are flawless? I turned my attention back to Detective Miller, my voice now sharp and decisive. Detective, investigate 3 things. Immediately. First, pull every transaction from the Grand Willow Estates reserve fund account for the last 3 years. Focus on large payments, especially those made to companies like Vantage Construction or Vantage Decor, subsidiaries of Vance Development. Second, subpoena the personal bank records of Warren Hale and Rick Peterson. Look for large, unexplained deposits in the last month. Trace them back to the source. Third, and this is the most important one, find out if, in the last 6 months, Vance Development opened an offshore account with a bank in the Cayman Islands. Check that account for a recent wire transfer from Secure Living Inc. for somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 million, disguised as a project consultation fee. Julian Vance swayed violently. If his lawyer hadn't been holding him up, he would have collapsed.
How could you possibly?
I slowly stood up and walked over to him, looking down at the man who, just minutes before, had been the picture of untouchable power. Money is a wonderful thing, Julian, but you used it to frame an innocent man and to patch the holes in your own corrupt schemes. How does it feel, spending that blood money? Can you sleep at night? Do you think the 2 people you murdered will ever let you rest? Vance suddenly shoved his lawyer aside and lunged at me, his eyes bloodshot with primal rage.
It was all you. Hayes, I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
The officers were ready. They swarmed him, wrestling him into submission. The cold, final click of handcuffs echoed through the room.
Julian Vance, you are under arrest for suspicion of felony murder, criminal negligence, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and embezzlement. Take him away.
Vance was dragged out, screaming incoherently. 15, Mr. Hayes, Detective Miller said, taking a deep breath.
The information you provided is a critical breakthrough. We will pursue these leads immediately.
His eyes were full of questions.
But I have to ask, how did you know all of this?
Getting Vance was just the first step. The network of corruption behind him, the real ghouls who fed on the reserve fund and treated human lives as collateral damage, were still hidden in the darkness. I collected myself and looked at the detective. Detective, when a man is pushed to the edge, he'll do anything he can to survive, to fight back. As for my source, I wasn't the only person they wronged. A while back, when I was trying to get information to fight Vance development, I happened to find a dropped folder. Inside were photocopies of some of these documents. Once you get Julian Vance to talk, find that offshore account and match it to the original documents with a signature. The whole truth will come out. I stood and took Chloe's cold hand in mine. One more thing, Detective. I need you to arrange protection for my family. Vance may be caught, but the people he works for are still out there. 16, the next morning, Chloe and I were swarmed by a mob of reporters the second we stepped out of our building.
Mr. Hayes, can you comment on the allegations that you intentionally damaged a vehicle to create a public disturbance? Mr. Hayes, rumor has it you coerced your wife into providing a false alibi. Is that true? Ms. Hayes, is it true your husband has a history of violent outbursts? Could this tragedy be linked to his long-standing psychological issues? Mr. Hayes, Vance Development released a statement claiming you are a disgruntled resident who concocted a story to frame Mr. Vance, possibly due to a mental breakdown. What's your response?
Microphones were shoved in our faces, the questions sharp and poisonous. Chloe, terrified, hid behind me. I looked up. Across the street, on a massive digital billboard, a slickly produced news segment was playing on a loop. It showed grainy footage of me being escorted from the garage by police, followed by a clip of me screaming maniacally at Warren Hale in the conference room. Then it cut to Julian Vance standing in front of the police station yesterday, his face a mask of grief.
The unhinged actions of Mr. Hayes have led to an unspeakable tragedy. We at Vance Development are victims in this as well, and we trust that the justice system will clear our name.
Next came interviews with a few of our neighbors, their faces blurred.
Ethan? Yeah, he always kept to himself. The way he looked at you was kind of creepy. To make such a big deal over a parking spot? It's insane. I heard he was live streaming when he hit the car. He's just a desperate attention seeker. His wife? She seems nice enough, I guess. But who knows if he forced her to lie for him.
The headline was sensational and damning. Shocking twist in Grand Willow tragedy? Whistleblower resident, the real culprit? Mental illness suspected in devastating incident. The story was attributed to a handful of local blogs and a bottom-feeder business site.
Vance Development paid them off.
Chloe said, her body shaking with anger, tears welling in her eyes.
They're twisting everything. They're trying to destroy you.
I watched it all, my heart cold and steady. This was the first counterattack from the man behind Vance. Use money to control the narrative. Turn the victim into the villain. Paint the whistleblower as a vengeful, mentally unstable lunatic. A few police officers quickly pushed through the media scrum, creating a path for us to get away. 17 that evening, Chloe's father called, his voice tight with panic.
Chloe! Ethan! You need to come over right now. Your mother. She was almost hit by a car.
We rushed to her parents' house. Chloe's mother was sitting in the living room, pale and visibly shaken.
Hi. I just went downstairs to take out the trash. A black sedan with no license plate. It just came out of nowhere, speeding right at me. If a young man hadn't been walking his dog right there and pulled me out of the way.
She broke down sobbing, her whole body trembling. Chloe held her mother, tears streaming down her own face.
It was them. They were coming for us.
She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a terrifying despair.
Ethan, they're trying to kill us. They tried to kill my mom.
A deep, Chilling cold spread through me. The image of my own parents, mangled and bloody in my first life, flashed in my mind, overlapping with my mother-in-law's terrified face. They were actually going after our families. Pack your bags. Now, you're coming with us to a hotel in the city tonight. You can't stay here, I said, my voice firm. As we were frantically getting their things together, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar local number. A calm, authoritative voice, dripping with bureaucratic condescension, came through the line.
Is this Ethan Hayes? This is Arthur Croft from the city's Department of Housing.
Director Croft, to what do I owe the pleasure? I asked, my voice even, though every nerve was on high alert. Croft's tone was unreadable.
The situation at the Grand Willow Estates has become a matter of significant public concern. The mayor's office is taking a personal interest. We understand you've played a central role in these events, and that you are in possession of some information that may have led to a misunderstanding.
He paused, the weight of his position pressing through the phone.
It's admirable for a young man to be so passionate about his rights, but one must be careful. It's important to distinguish fact from fiction. Vance Development is a pillar of our city's economy and Julian Vance. He is a fine, civic-minded entrepreneur. All this chatter online isn't doing you or your family any favors.
His next words were laced with faux concern.
I heard your wife's parents had a bit of a scare this evening. How about this? On behalf of the department, I'll offer you a way out. You write a statement clarifying that your comments about a reserve fund and an offshore account were merely speculation made under extreme duress. I will personally mediate with Vance Development. They will drop their defamation suit against you, and they will provide you with a reasonable settlement, enough to buy a new home in a safer neighborhood where you can take care of your family. What do you say? It's the best outcome for everyone.
A blatant threat, wrapped in a bribe, delivered with a smile. He wanted me to destroy my own credibility, to retract the very evidence that could bring them down. He was using my family's safety as a bargaining chip. The monsters hiding behind power and money. Their methods were always the same. Director Croft, I said calmly, I appreciate the offer, but you seem to be mistaken about one thing.
Oh.
What I want isn't money or a new house. My voice was quiet, but each word was laced with steel. What I want is for every last one of the blood-sucking parasites who treat human lives like garbage, the ones hiding in the shadows, to be dragged into the light. And I want to see every single one of them pay. The 2 people who died in that elevator, the 2 who are still in the hospital, the life savings of countless residents you've defrauded. That bill is coming due. So I suggest you get your affairs in order, Director Croft, because you and everyone you're protecting are going down. The line went dead silent. After a few seconds, Croft's voice came back, stripped of all pretense, cold and menacing.
Fine. Very well, Mr. Hayes. You're a real tough guy. You had your chance to play ball. Don't blame me for what happens next.
I hung up before he could finish and blocked the number.
Who was that?
Chloe asked, her eyes wide with worry. The snake we just rattled. I said coldly. Arthur Croft, from a Department of Housing. He's scared. That means we're close to the heart of it. I looked at my terrified in-laws, my expression hardening with resolve. Mom, Dad, Chloe, don't be afraid. The more they lash out like this, the more it proves they're losing. Their time is running out. I pulled up the call log, saved the automatic recording of the conversation, and attached it to a new email. The recipient was Detective Miller. The subject line was short. The snake has shown its head. The pressure is on. Requesting you close the net. Fast. A few days later, a detective from the task force, a man named Lou, met me in private. He looked exhausted and deeply frustrated.
Mr. Hayes,
he said, his voice low as he glanced around nervously.
The investigation. We've hit a wall. Resistance from above.
Arthur Croft. I stated it as a fact. Lou sighed, a silent confirmation.
We found the offshore account. It's real. And just like you said, 2 days before the crash, it received a $2 million wire from Secure Living Inc. The recipient was a shell corporation in the Cayman Islands called Ocean Star Consulting.
He paused, his voice heavy.
But the money trail was expertly laundered. The key transfer orders from Vance Development to Secure Living, and then offshore were all handled by Vance himself using encrypted, disposable devices. There's no direct digital paper trail, and now Warren Hale has changed his story. He's confessed to everything.
He confessed. My blood ran cold.
That's right. He's now saying he and Peterson acted alone, that they sabotaged the elevator as part of a scheme to get a bigger maintenance budget to embezzle from. He's taking the fall for the whole thing. Meanwhile, Julian Vance denies any knowledge of the offshore account, claims he was completely blindsided by Hale's corruption.
Lou's voice was laced with anger.
And it gets worse. Rick Peterson, the security chief, had a sudden massive heart attack in custody. He's dead. Our key witness against Hale is gone.
Peterson was dead. Hale was taking all the blame. And Julian Vance, the primary beneficiary, was about to walk away as the innocent, betrayed boss. The most critical links in the chain of evidence, both human and financial, had been severed. Shortly after, the city's Department of Housing, in a joint statement with the Safety Commission and the Police Department, released a long-overdue preliminary report on the Grand Willow Estates elevator incident. The language was carefully chosen. The preliminary assessment concludes that the direct cause of the incident was catastrophic failure of the elevator's hoist system due to severe deficiencies in routine maintenance and evidence of falsified inspection reports, leading to metal fatigue. The former property manager, Warren Hale, and security chief, Rick Peterson, have been identified as the primary individuals responsible, facing charges of embezzlement and criminal negligence. The developer, Vance Development, has been cited for a lack of oversight of its subsidiary management company. However, no definitive evidence has been found to suggest malicious, intentional sabotage by other parties. The final paragraph was a thinly veiled threat aimed directly at me. The internet is not a lawless space. We urge the public to await the conclusion of the official investigation and to refrain from spreading unsubstantiated rumors. The relevant authorities will take swift and decisive action against any individuals found to be disseminating false information, maliciously slandering businesses or persons, or otherwise obstructing the course of justice. The official narrative was set. It was a murder. Hale and the dead man, Peterson, were the sole culprits. Vance Development was guilty of nothing more than a lack of oversight. Julian Vance was completely in the clear. Arthur Croft's power was terrifying. He didn't just control the media. He controlled the official investigation itself. He had just handed Julian Vance a get-out-of-jail-free card and painted a giant target on my back, labeling me a spreader of false information. The tide of public opinion, which had started to turn against Vance, was instantly swept back. The online vitriol directed at me was now more venomous than ever, legitimized by the official report.
See. The official report proves it. That Ethan Hayes guy was just making it all up. He fabricated that whole conspiracy theory over a parking spot. What a pathetic, evil loser. They should charge him with obstruction. Lock him up. I bet his wife and mother-in-law were in on it too. A whole family of liars.
21. I had only one card left to play. I thought it would be difficult to convince her, but as soon as Detective Miller made the call, Sarah Jenkins agreed to come in. She was the Assistant Director of Finance at Vance Development. She was also the one who had accidentally dropped the folder of documents that I had found.
I have the originals of all the forged documents,
Sarah said. She showed no fear, only a steely resolve.
And I have something else. A recording of Julian Vance telling me to delete all related emails and internal approval records to cover the money trail. I made a secret backup.
Why are you doing this? I asked.
Why?
A bitter, broken laugh escaped her lips and tears streamed down her face.
Because of Arthur Croft. That animal. He and Vance are in this together. Part of the money they stole from the reserve fund was laundered through those fake contracts and sent to that offshore account. But that wasn't enough for him. Croft. That disgusting old man, he He's had his eye on me for a while. To curry favor with him, to protect his own position, last week, Julian took me to Croft's private club. He got me drunk. And he let Croft. He let him.
Sarah covered her face, her body racked with humiliating sobs.
Afterward, he threatened me. He said if I ever told anyone, he'd make my entire family disappear. I can't live like this anymore. I'd rather fight and lose than let them use me and then get rid of me.
A wave of pure rage and disgust washed over me. Arthur Croft, Julian Vance. Their crimes were even filthier than I had imagined. 22 armed with the ironclad evidence Sarah provided, the task force, with Detective Miller leading the charge, coordinated with the city's anti-corruption bureau and took immediate action. At that very moment, Arthur Croft was sitting in a television studio, smugly recording an interview for a program called City Lights. The show was about celebrating the city's urban development and public housing achievements. And Arthur Croft was the featured guest, the shining example of a diligent, honest, and public-minded civil servant. The interview was going smoothly, as Croft looked earnestly into the camera and spoke about strengthening oversight to ensure the safety and well-being of our citizens. The main studio doors were thrown open. Detective Miller, in full uniform, followed by several grim-faced agents from the Anti-Corruption Bureau, strode onto the set, stunning the director and host into silence.
Arthur Croft.
Miller's voice was cold and commanding, booming through the studio.
You are under investigation for accepting substantial bribes, abuse of power, conspiring with Julian Vance of Vance Development to embezzle public funds, and orchestrating a cover-up of the Grand Willow Estates tragedy. You're also a suspect in a sexual assault investigation. You are being detained, effective immediately. You're coming with us.
The smile on Croft's face froze. The microphone slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a loud clang. He tried to stand, but his body gave out, and he collapsed back into his chair. The entire studio was silent. Every camera was trained on the man who, moments before, had been preaching about integrity. The live broadcast signal was never cut. The scene played out on televisions and online streams across the city, the state, and soon, the nation. Within the hour, the headquarters of Vance Development was raided by a joint task force of police, IRS, and federal agents. Faced with Sarah's evidence, Julian Vance's psychological defenses crumbled. To save his own skin, he confessed to everything, implicating a dozen other players. Several days later, a new, far more detailed official report was released. It laid bare the vast criminal conspiracy orchestrated by Croft, Vance, Hale, and others, a corrupt network that systematically embezzled public funds, falsified evidence, manipulated the media, threatened witnesses, and committed sexual assault. Arthur Croft was fired, disgraced, and handed over to the Justice Department. Julian Vance was charged with multiple counts, including felony murder, bribery, and embezzlement. Vance Development was hit with crippling fines, its assets frozen, and its entire board of directors was under federal investigation. The missing reserve funds from the Grand Willow Estates were partially recovered, with the city stepping in to cover the rest. A full-scale project to replace the elevators and conduct a building-wide safety review was immediately launched. Online, the narrative didn't just reverse. It became a tidal wave of apologies and praise. Hero resident, the silent guardian, the corruption crusher, the labels were endless. Standing at the entrance of our building, the late afternoon sun cast a warm, golden glow on the brickwork. Chloe slipped her arm through mine, a genuine, heartfelt smile finally returning to her face. "Let's go home," I said, pulling her close. The elevator doors opened. Its polished steel walls were clean and bright, reflecting our image as we stood together, finally safe.